Okay, so video number 3. I'm going to start working a little bit more with a little bit of formatting. So as with any of our labs, I'm going to have you guys actually building these spreadsheets from the bottom up. A couple of them, if they're pretty intense, I'll put a shell together and you guys are going to work within a certain shell. But when I say a shell, I'm going to say that there's some type of a border or framework that you're going to be working in so that it's a little bit more organized and clean. So a few different ways you can do it. You can set up those borders ahead of time, or you can set up those borders afterward. But just to show you how to do that, if I have a single cell there and I want that cell to stand out, there's a few things I can do. One, I can add color to that cell and fill it. To get rid of that, I just hit no fill. Another thing that I can do in there is I can change the color of the font. The default is going to be black, but I can obviously make that font another color. So using color, we can format a few different ways. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and set this back to normal, and talk to you about borders. So this tool, this border tool that we have right here, this is set up right now as a bottom border, just that little tiny line. As we look down, these are all of the different options. So some of these are going to be used frequently, some of them are not going to be used very frequently. A double line in accounting means something specific, so this bottom double border is going to be used from time to time, and then just a single bottom border is going to be used as well. So there'll be different reasons for a lot of this, but when we look at just outside borders, so if I highlight that single cell and I use an outside border, it's going to obviously put a border around the outside of that cell. If I select multiple cells and I use that same outside border tool, it's going to put that same border around all of those. Now you can see that individually these are all individual cells, and we're going to talk about grouping cells a little bit later. But in accounting, from an accounting standpoint, we usually only group cells horizontally rather than vertically, and you'll see why that's the case later on. Some other things that we can do, and something that if you really want to emphasize, let's say that this is a stack of numbers and at the very bottom you want to indicate total without saying that that's the total. If you put a thick box around that one, you can see that it stands out differently from the rest. So I'm going to have you guys formatting things a little bit differently throughout the entire semester, so that you can kind of use these tools to your advantage. So another tool that we're going to use quite a bit is going to be the merge tool. If I highlight through these 3 cells, up here in the ribbon you can see where it says merge and center. You have other options. You can merge and center, you can merge it all the way across, just merge those cells, and you can also unmerge them. If I just say merge cells, those cells all become one cell now. So as I put my name in here, and I can see that it is they're merged together in a large cell. Now if I say merge and center, and it's going to bring it back, and obviously it's going to become centered within that cell. An advantage to this is that you could then go in and highlight 3 different things, maybe about whatever that is. So when we look at T accounts, let me unmerge this real quick, and I'm just going to merge these 2 so I can show you guys a T account. Okay. If this was our T account here, and we would have debits and credits in these 2 columns, we could then add numbers here. Here I made $20, and here I made $15, and here I made $50, 20 again, and 30. This would be all of the example would be income. So we would have all of those on one side, and then maybe these are going to be withdrawals. So maybe I spent $10 and I spent $5. I spent $9, $14, and $10. So then later we can go in and auto sum these, so that we're able to add those 2 together. excuse me, subtract one from the other. And then in the end, if we wanted to add this as a total, we could then merge and center those, and we could put a formula in. So if we were going to go ahead and auto sum these columns, that's how much income I made. This is how much my expenses were. And if we want to find out, well, what's my profit? If this is my income and this is my expense, what is my profit that's going to be found in there? I'm just going to say let this cell, and I'm going to hit the equal sign. This cell right here is going to represent or equal this number minus, oops, I'm sorry, I hit the wrong button here. This number minus that number. So all I did is just click right on them. Let me go back and show you that again. This equals this number minus this number. And when I hit enter, it's going to be my profit. Okay, it's going to be profit or loss. Now if I have a big expense in here of $200, now I have to go back and re-add everything? No, it's going to automatically change that for me. And then I can then put in this format. Do I want it to be a negative sign? How do I want that that to look? So I can go in and change what this is going to look like. I really like to go in and use the Format Cells menu to say, okay, well, it is a number and it is currency, and I want it to be, if it's a negative number, I want it to be red, and I want it to be in parentheses. So as a negative number, it shows that. But if I go back and make this mistake that I made a 20 rather than a 200, it goes back and it's in the black again. So that's where we talk about being in the black or being in the red. If you're in the red, it's because you're negative. If you're in the black, it's because you're back positive again in terms of cash flow. So a little bit, again, remember that we can emphasize certain cells by changing their borders. We can make a column of cells within those borders. We can highlight a single cell. We can make a T account. There's a lot of different options that we have with Excel, and it's one of the reasons that I think it's one of the more valuable tools. Next video, we're going to get into a little bit more on the nuts and bolts of working our Excel spreadsheet for this first lab.